That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, let's go through. Let's talk about some of these running back rankings for week 8. Honestly, I feel like we crushed the week 7 list, even though, yeah, we had our guy Darrell Williams way too high. I mean, I was just expecting the Kansas City Chiefs not to put up a total of 3 points in that contest, so I apologize. But nonetheless, we'll go through, we'll talk about the top 24 running backs here. And this list is not going to be nearly as gross as it was last week. I mean, last week, of course, with Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, Austin Ekeler, Ezekiel Elliott, James Robinson, so many running backs on bye, so many injuries we had to deal with. It got disgusting. This week, not going to be too bad. But of course, before we dive into it, we know we have to go through and give away some Fantasy Flock Network hats. If you have not gotten a Fantasy Flock Network hat yet, I apologize, but we're going to continue to give away multiple every single day on this channel. Our first winner is going to go out to Super Desmo. Says, now I have to absolutely go join the Patreon. I need that hat, Mason. Okay, yeah, let me give that also announcement here. If you have not realized already, over there on Patreon, if you join and if you are a part of that Patreon community, or if you've been a part of that Patreon community for a while now, where you can get into Flock Dynasty Leagues, you can get into Flock Regular Leagues, you can get rest of season rankings, you can get our Dynasty rankings, you can get our group chat. When you join, I make an in-depth podcast breaking down your team with suggestions for you to make. You also get a Fantasy Flock Network hat over there on Patreon as well. But my friend, I really want you to join Patreon, but you just want a free Fantasy Flock Network hat. So technically you don't have to if you don't want to. And then Steven coming out says, a winning record in all 3 of my leagues. Thanks to you. No, thank you so much, Steven. I'm sure that you'd have a winning record regardless of if you are watching these videos or not. And one other announcement is, make sure y'all go use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. On Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the description of the video. They are doing a 100% deposit match up to $100 if you go use promo code FLOCK and just make that $10 deposit at the very minimum. Make that $20 deposit. They match $20, but there are so many fun player props that you can look at over there on Underdog Fantasy. You can find those player props listed up on the screen as we go through and talk about these running backs. But yeah, that's it. Let's go through. Let's get to this tier list. Leading off at running back 1 with Derrick Henry. I mean, obviously, you're going to have Derrick Henry at running back 1. Nobody's going to be debating that. And with Henry, this is a running back that if you would have told me, hey, Mason, the Chiefs are going to get boat raced here by the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry is going to see a ridiculous 29 carries in this contest. I mean, and the Tennessee Titans are going to win this game by 3+ touchdowns. How many points is Derrick Henry actually going to be putting up? I would have come out and said, okay, well, clearly Derrick Henry's the running back 1 of the week because he's been the running back 1 of the season so far, and it hasn't even been close. I'll say maybe we get, if we get 29 carries for Derrick Henry, 3 touchdowns, 150 rushing yards. Of course, you'd be so excited about Derrick Henry. In reality, the rushing production was not that great against the Kansas City Chiefs, where you had 29 rushing attempts, 86 rushing yards. Doesn't really matter, though. With Derrick Henry, this is a running back that's still averaging almost 27 points per game. Not too worried about the Indianapolis Colts matchup. If you're looking at what we got from Elijah Mitchell in this Indianapolis game last week, keep in mind the weather was disgusting. But with Elijah Mitchell, this was a running back that went over 100 rushing yards and had a rushing touchdown as well. So I don't think you have to be that worried about the Indianapolis Colts rush defense. I think you can go through, plug and play Derrick Henry at running back 1. Very little to say. Let's go to running back 2 here, where we're going to have someone that was on our buy low list a while back earlier this season. Let's go over to Dalvin Cook. With Dalvin Cook, we've had a lot of questions in the live streams every single night going, okay, Mason, should I be trading away Tyreek Hill for Dalvin? My answer is hell yes. Dalvin Cook, if you go over to Patreon, you look at our rest of season rankings, you're going to see that we currently have Dalvin Cook for the number 2 spot overall. This is a running back that you need to be going all in with, given the fact that he has had 29 rushing attempts this past week, clearly indicating that he is having that exact role that he left before the injury. This is something that we discussed. With Alexander Mattison balling out in 3 straight weeks as the starting running back for the Minnesota Vikings, while Mattison is fantastic as a 1-for-1 replacement with Dalvin Cook. Just looking at the entire season, looking at Dalvin Cook since 2017, we know that this is a running back when he is healthy. He's getting every single touch in this backfield for the Minnesota Vikings. Last time we saw him against the Panthers, he had 29 rushing attempts, 2 receptions out of the backfield as well for over 140 total yards. So the volume will be there with Dalvin Cook. I actually think this is going to be a higher scoring contest. Now, not a great matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, given the fact that with Dallas, we know they're going to be putting up a decent amount of points early on, which may put the Minnesota Vikings in a position where they have to throw the ball. But going back to what we had with Dalvin Cook in week 1 this season, he was a running back that had 7 targets out of the backfield. So he has the usage in the receiving game as well. So yeah, we will have Dalvin Cook at 2. Now let's go over to our third running back who actually plays on Thursday night. So I know that a lot of people are probably going to be laughing at this call if you're watching on Friday. But let's go Aaron Jones. Yes, we are going to have Aaron Jones in this top tier alongside Derrick Henry, alongside Dalvin Cook here. I am worried about this Green Bay Packers offense when you're not going to have Davante Adams. That is 100% a concern. But without Davante Adams, without Allen Lazard, what that is going to mean for Aaron Jones is you should not be surprised if he puts up one of the best receiving games of his entire NFL career. Where so far with Aaron Jones, this has been a running back through 7 weeks, has already had 26 receptions this season. So he's averaging about 4 receptions a game in Green Bay. I mean, with the top receiving options being gone for this Green Bay Packers offense, the role for Aaron Jones is only going to continue to increase. I would not be surprised if we get Aaron Jones up to 9-10 targets against the Arizona Cardinals. This will be a contest that most likely Green Bay is going to be slowing down the pace of play. They're just going to be trying to slug this one out with a dominant Arizona Cardinals team. So you're not excited about the overall offense in Green Bay, but knowing that that entire offense will be funneled through Aaron Jones this week in particular. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is a wide receiver that's going to be a field stretching option. I mean, not necessarily a target hog himself. I think a lot is going to get dumped off to Aaron Jones out of this backfield. So I know he only had 19 rushing yards back in week 7, but still this is someone that has the red zone role. I mean, you know the touchdown upside's there. And at the same time, he's going to have an elite role in the receiving game as well. So we are going to have Aaron Jones at running back 3. Now, this next running back, I want to put an asterisk on this, okay? I'm recording this on Wednesday. The most recent report that we have with Nick Chubb is that he will be good to go against the Pittsburgh Steelers. There looks to be no hesitation on if Nick Chubb will play or not. Now, of course, the practice report on Thursday, the practice report on Friday is going to be very key in where Nick Chubb is actually going to be ranked among these running backs. Because if Nick Chubb was 100% good to go, if we had no hesitation in saying that Nick Chubb was going to see his usual role in this offense, Nick Chubb would have the argument to be made to be the running back 1 overall this week, coming from someone who told everybody to be avoiding Nick Chubb in their fantasy drafts coming into the season, understanding that Kareem Hunt was going to have a role in this offense, where Hunt was getting every single target out of the backfield, where Hunt was having a role in the red zone because, as we have said so many times before with Kareem Hunt, he's an elite running back talent. He's led the NFL in rushing before. So yes, while Kareem Hunt is healthy, Nick Chubb is a committee running back that was being overdrafted in the first round of fantasy leagues this year. Now, I know Dearness Johnson, he looked great last Thursday. But I can tell you one thing with so much confidence that I could get it tattooed to my body. Dearness Johnson is not nearly as talented at the game of football that Kareem Hunt is. This is very simple. You are going to see Nick Chubb not only go back to his regular role when he is healthy, but at the same time, he's going to be picking up that usage that Kareem Hunt had in this offense. And if you were looking at what Nick Chubb's fantasy production will be, if you get half of those Kareem Hunt touches and slide them over to Nick Chubb, where we have always said Nick Chubb, one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. Nick Chubb running behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. I mean, this is a running back that will be dominant with no Kareem Hunt. So yes, we're going to have Nick Chubb ranked at running back 4 in this top tier alongside Derrick Henry and these other names. And I'm not going to lie, if it wasn't for us not necessarily knowing if he was going to be 100% with that knee injury, he could easily be up there at 1 with no Kareem Hunt on the IR. Do not worry about Dearness Johnson. Dearness Johnson is not Kareem Hunt. He's nothing close to Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb could have that Dalvin Cook level workload this week. And if he gets that Dalvin Cook level workload and Nick Chubb is a comparable running back behind the best offensive line in football, you have to be very excited about what we can have. Now let's go down to our next tier. Let's go down to running back 5. And And let's go over to Austin Ekeler coming off the bye week. Ekeler doesn't have a great matchup against the New England Patriots. But with Austin Ekeler, A, you really love the offense that we actually have in Los Angeles. B, right now, he's the running back 2 from a points per game standpoint. Clearly, the elite production has been there. And a big reason that elite production is there is what do we talk about all the time? Not just chasing raw touches, rather chasing the valuable touches in offense, trying to get the red zone opportunity, trying to get the usage in the receiving game. And with Austin Ekeler, over the past 5 weeks that he has played, he's actually had 27 receptions. So this is a running back that's averaging about 5.5 receptions in the Los Angeles Chargers offense. This is someone that's had 7 touchdowns through 6 weeks so far this season. There's no way that touchdown rate is going to continue to go at this pace. That's why we're not having Austin Ekeler ranked up at running back 2 rather than we have him at running back 5. But still, this is a running back that has the exact role that you're looking for in one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL. Clearly, he is a dominant talent at the same time. He's 100% healthy coming out of the bye week. So it's a tougher matchup against the New England Patriots, but still, I think this New England offense possibly just primarily focuses in on trying to slow down Mike Williams. I think Austin Ekeler will be a top 5 running back this week. Now let's go over to our next running back who we're going to have at running back 6. You can make an argument to put him over Austin Ekeler, but this will be Najee Harris. And here with Harris, this is a running back that has been fantastic with his own workload in Pittsburgh. He is currently the running back 3 from a points per game standpoint. This is someone that if you're looking at his role in the receiving game this year, it has been absurd. He has had 46 targets through 6 weeks so far. He's essentially averaging 8 targets a game in Pittsburgh. We know, given the fact that he is 230 pounds, that he can also play damn near every single snap. That's what we have seen with Najee Harris, where he has a higher snap rate than almost any other running back in the entire NFL. I would not be surprised if his snap rate was actually higher than Derrick Henry's. Not in love with the matchup against the Cleveland Browns, which is why we will have Najee Harris below Austin Ekeler and why we will not have Najee Harris in that top tier. But with no Juju Smith-Schuster, clearly this team is going to be looking to rely on him out of the backfield a little bit more in the receiving game as well. So we will have him at running back 6. And our running back 7, the last option in this tier, coming off a very strong stretch the past month. If you're looking at the past month, Jonathan Taylor has dropped 20 points, 20 points, 20 points, 20 points. Just had a great game as well against the San Francisco 49ers. You could easily make the argument for Najee Harris to be up at running back 5. And that's why we make these videos as tier lists. Because I think if you're going to sit here and try to tell me, oh no, Mason, Najee Harris, he needs to be over Aaron Jones this week, I'm going to tell you, nope, you're wrong. With Aaron Jones in that passing down role with no Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones is the clear call. Whereas if you're going to tell me, no, Mason, Jonathan Taylor needs to be ahead of Austin Ekeler, I'm going to say, okay, yeah, you do you. I think that you could easily make that argument. But with Jonathan Taylor, just one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL so far this season. Now, keep in mind, given the talent level that you have him with, and given the fact that he's running behind a great offensive line with Quentin Nelson back, you'd naturally assume that Jonathan Taylor is going to be giving you significantly more on a per-touch basis than 99% of the other running backs in the NFL. He's had 105 carries so far this season, 579 rushing yards. If you're looking at this rate, it's just not sustainable. This is someone that last week, 18 carries, 107 rushing yards. The week before that, 14 carries, 145 rushing yards. So no, you can't necessarily assume that this is going to continue to happen. I'm not that worried about the Tennessee Titans matchup, even though they just shut down Kansas City. I think that's a game that's very hard to take much away from, very similar to what we're saying about that Baltimore Ravens and Los Angeles Chargers game 2 weeks ago. So we're not too worried about this matchup that we're going to have against the Tennessee Titans. I think you clearly have Jonathan Taylor as that mid running back 1 this week. Now let's go down to tier 3, and let's probably talk about a running back that I'd imagine that everybody watching the video premiere right now that is subscribed to the channel and hit that bell. Thank you so much, of course, for everybody who comes to those video premieres. But I can already feel it in my bones that I'm going to be reading this video premiere at this time. People are going, where is Kamara? Where is Alvin Kamara? Because Kamara just had that blow-up performance on Monday night where he drops about 34 fantasy points. He has 20 carries, 10 receptions. This is a running back that almost gets to 200 total yards. He has the receiving touchdown. Obviously, Alvin Kamara, a fantastic running back that is having one of the best workloads in the entire NFL with no Michael Thomas. But still, I want to be a little concerned. And the reason we are going to be concerned is he has the toughest matchup you could ever ask for going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you historically look at what Alvin Kamara has done against Tampa over the past 2 seasons now, I mean, it has not been great for Kamara. You're not necessarily expecting him to come out and be that locked and loaded top 3 running back. I will say you would naturally assume that the pass-catching running back's going to have a little bit of an easier time against a tough matchup rather than the running back that is going to be relying more so on his red zone role, the running back that's going to be relying on the efficiency of the offense. This is similar to what we talked about with DeAndre Swift last week against the Rams. Why we really liked DeAndre Swift is we didn't care that it was a tough matchup for him, just knowing the kind of running back that he was on that team. But nonetheless, with Kamara, still, I think that it's enough to have him below these guys like Harris, Taylor, Ekeler. I don't even think you could consider putting Kamara over those players, given the matchup against the toughest defense in the NFL. Now, keep in mind, I do know that Herbert came out here and he was dominant. I mean, he was dominant against this same Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. We'll talk about Ezekiel Herbert a little bit later in the video. I mean, he actually came out and posted an incredible 100 rushing yards, 5 receptions, 33 receiving yards at the same time. He actually had the most rushing yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense throughout this entire season. Came out of nowhere. I was horribly wrong about it, but still, I think looking at that small sample, going to be very hard to assume that just changes how we're viewing the entire defense and what we have seen over the past 2 seasons now. Still want to be avoiding any running back we can against Tampa. Now, our next running back will be running back 9, Ezekiel Elliott, who, yes, is playing in probably a top 3 offense in the NFL right now. I mean, with Zeke, this has been a fantastic option each and every week, just given how many points and how many sustained drives Dallas has. I mean, this is a running back that so far is the running back 7 on a points per game basis. Now, the workload isn't necessarily there with what you've seen from Ezekiel Elliott in previous seasons. However, just given the fact that you're looking at Tony Pollard having his own expanded role, I mean, with Ezekiel Elliott, he's actually had 102 rushing attempts. He's had 16 receptions out of the backfield as well through 6 weeks. So even though the offense is so damn dominant, maybe you expect that they lean a little bit more on the pass in a competitive game against the Minnesota Vikings, and you still have Ezekiel Elliott a little bit in a committee rather than just being that typical 3-down bell cow running back that we're used to seeing back in previous seasons. So for that reason, we are going to have Ezekiel Elliott down here at 9. Now, our next running back over there at 10 will be DeAndre Swift going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. So DeAndre Swift, after a massive performance, you love to see it, one of our most owned running backs this season against the Los Angeles Rams, where DeAndre Swift right now, I mean, he is leading the NFL in targets out of the backfield for the running back position and receptions out of the backfield. I mean, the usage in the receiving game is elite. I mean, y'all know we talked about DeAndre Swift a million times this season already. We don't need to get into the fact that he is Aaron Jones, he is Alvin Kamara, they're the same player. That's what we said coming into the year, but nonetheless, this is someone that's had 42 receptions out of the backfield so far through 7 weeks. 42 receptions. He's averaging 6 receptions a game. He has 8 receptions this past week, 96 receiving yards, a receiving touchdown. Obviously, he has the big play to get the Detroit Lions started against the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, he also has the red zone role, which of course is something that we always discuss. He's actually had 3 rushing touchdowns so far this year. Not a bad matchup by any means against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think you could easily make the argument that DeAndre Swift needs to be ahead of Alvin Kamara up there at 8, just given the fact that he has a similar role in a much better matchup and probably a comparable offense at this point. But let's pay Kamara. Let's play Zeke the respect of just being those running backs that we have seen a very large sample of complete dominance from. So we'll have him in the same tier, but we will have DeAndre Swift at 10. Now let's go down to our next tier. This is actually going to be a very short tier at 10 and 11, where we're going to have both Darrell Henderson and James Robinson. Now, you're not too worried about the running back matchup for either guy. Now, with Darrell Henderson, we'll have him ahead of James Robinson. And we're going to talk about both these players right away because they are almost identical with the roles that they have in their respective offenses. Now, I know if you go through, if you look at the Sony Michel touches, if you're looking at the Sony Michel snaps so far this season, I mean, it doesn't necessarily look like Darrell Henderson is that prototypical 3-down bell cow running back. However, if you dive deep in and you understand that those contests where Sony Michel was getting about half or 45% of the work, I mean, those were actually games that Darrell Henderson was was dealing with the nagging injury where he was in and out of the game, very similar to what you have with Josh Jacobs back in week 1, skewing the snap data in that fashion. While Darrell Henderson, I mean, he has shown us in multiple contests now where he is 100% healthy that this is going to be a running back that's seeing about 90% of the snaps, very similar to what you have with someone like James Robinson over in Jacksonville. With Henderson this past week, 57 out of 65 snaps. He had 15 carries out of the backfield. He had 6 targets. I mean, he had 30 routes run compared to Sony Michel having 3 routes run. I mean, the running back roles for Darrell Henderson and James Robinson, when both these running backs are healthy, are damn near identical. Now, I will just be willing to say, yeah, if you want to come out here and make the argument that James Robinson is a more talented running back than Darrell Henderson, you can easily make that argument. But at the end of the day, James Robinson is in an offense with Urban Meyer, whereas Darrell Henderson is in an offense with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. So with running back, we know that talent doesn't dictate as much as it would at wide receiver. Rather, I want to be leaning a little bit more on the elite situation rather than the slightly more talented running back. So give me Darrell Henderson, especially in a great contest against the Houston Texans, where the Los Angeles Rams will be looking to run the ball in the second half. So yeah, give me Henderson at 11. Give me James Robinson at 12. Now let's go down one more tier. Let's go over to our running back 13, Joe Mixon against the New York Jets. So damn hard to take anything away from the Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine's usage this past week because, yeah, Joe Mixon gets 34 snaps compared to Samaje Perine's 30. Yeah, Joe Mixon gets 12 carries compared to Samaje Perine's 11. And Perine comes away with a decent amount of production as well. But this was just a blowout contest against the Baltimore Ravens. We can say that it's very possible you get the same thing happening against the Jets this week as well. But clearly, Joe Mixon does have that touchdown upside, knowing that they will be able to effectively move the ball down the field against the Jets. They're also going to be looking to run the ball consistently, just given the fact this Jets offense will not be able to put up probably a single point. Now, our next running back will be Cordell Patterson at running back 14, who has been fantastic as of late. I mean, if you're looking at Cordell Patterson, he comes out, gets that Mike Davis usage. This is the first week so far this season that Mike Davis plays less snaps than Cordell Patterson. Clearly, this team saw something in the bye week, and you actually get Mike Davis 0 targets out of the backfield this past week. That is 100% impactful in funneling that volume, funneling that production over to Cordell Patterson, where he has 14 carries, 4 targets out of this backfield. I mean, he has 46 snaps played compared to Mike Davis's 38. Not too worried about the matchup against the Carolina Panthers. I think this could be a closer game. So yeah, Cordell Patterson, running back 14. I mean, here we are. This is 2021 Cordell Patterson, a high-end running back too. And we're also going to have Leonard Fournette in the same tier at running back 15. Don't love the matchup that you have for Fournette against the New Orleans Saints. Also don't love the fact that with Rob Gronkowski here, while yes, he will boost the running efficiency terms of the blocking for this offense, still with Gronk, you can get a couple of those touchdowns that were possibly going to go in the direction of Leonard Fournette in the red zone. You could actually get those flipped over, just knowing that they have that one more elite weapon in terms of dropping back to pass with Tom Brady. But nonetheless, Fournette, if you're looking at the snap data this past week, yeah, you get a lot of usage for Ronald Jones, Keyshawn Vaughn, Giovanni Bernard, where if you add up all their snaps, it's about what Leonard Fournette played. But at the end of the day, I mean, this game got out of hand. Of course, you get see a lot of Keyshawn Vaughn in the fourth quarter because, I mean, this team's winning 35-3. What are they supposed to continue to roll Leonard Fournette out there? Clearly, he's the bell cow running back in one of the most productive offenses in the NFL. You could easily make the argument to have him up there at 13. Now let's go down another tier and let's go to our next running back at running back 16, which will be Chuba Hubbard against the Atlanta Falcons here. And with Chuba Hubbard, this is a running back that essentially splits this backfield in snaps this past week with Royce Freeman, but another contest that wasn't even close. Sam Darnold gets benched in this game. I mean, Chuba Hubbard does get 34 snaps compared to Royce Freeman's 29, but if you're actually looking at the usage in this offense, you actually get 12 carries for Hubbard, only 3 for Royce Freeman. Really shows us that Hubbard was the running back that was in there when the game was more competitive, and 5 targets out of the backfield for Hubbard's definitely going to be impactful in trying to predict the usage that he will have in the receiving game. Going up against the Atlanta Falcons, clearly this is a defense that you can be putting points up against. I'd imagine that they have a much easier time scoring the ball against Atlanta than they did New York. So yeah, we are going to have Chuba Hubbard as a mid running back 2 at running back 16, given the guaranteed volume. Now our next running back 17, has made it on our buy low list. I promise you, this is going to be a running back that crushes over the next 3 weeks. Let's go over to Zach Moss. Zach Moss, very simple. He's going to be playing on one of the most productive offenses in the NFL. Clearly the lead running back there going up against the Miami Dolphins. With Zach Moss, he's proven that he has the red zone role. He's shown us that touchdown upside so far this season. And in this game against the Miami Dolphins, you'd imagine that the Buffalo Bills win by multiple touchdowns. So in the second half, they are going to be looking to run. Zach Moss, not the most talented running back by any stretch of the imagination. But to be honest, doesn't really matter when he's playing in this offense. And this team is going to be dominating. We'll have Zach Moss at running back 17. Now, our next running back at running back 18 will be Darrell Williams going up against the Giants. And with Darrell Williams, yes, it's hard to go out there and get that excited about anybody in this Kansas City Chiefs backfield if we're not expecting as many red zone opportunities as what you've had previously. And I know that the Giants defense just looked good against Carolina, but let's take a step back. Let's go back 2 weeks and see that this Giants defense just isn't one that we should be that worried about at all. With Darrell Williams, clearly he was the lead running back in Kansas City this past week. Now, the volume wasn't necessarily there because this game got so out of hand. This team really wasn't able to run that many plays to begin with, where Jerick McKinnon was the guy in the second half, given the fact that, Jerick McKinnon's probably a better pass catcher. Jerick McKinnon did only see 18 routes run compared to Darrell Williams' 46, which definitely is impactful. And I apologize, 36 routes run, not 46. But still, with Darrell Williams here, he's going to be the lead running back, one of the most productive offenses in the NFL. At least we're projecting it to be that way, even if he's not that talented. He's very, very similar to Zach Moss and a similar matchup as well. We will have Darrell Williams at 18. And a running back that we had as a top 10 option a week ago, but we are going to have him down at running back 19, despite him being a top 5 option last week, Damian Harris. Now with Damian Harris, I know so many people are going to hate this ranking. Like I want to say, yes, we had him up there in the top 10 a week ago against the New York Jets, given the fact that it was a fantastic matchup where you were assuming that you were not going to have any issues at all for Bill Belichick in this New England Patriots offense to be able to effectively move the ball down the field. And knowing that Damian Harris was going to have a decent amount of opportunities in the red zone, this was an easy spot to go through and identify Damian Harris as a running back 1, where he comes out, he has 14 carries, over 100 rushing yards, back-to-back weeks now with over 100 rushing yards. And he's had 3 weeks straight with a rushing touchdown. He had 2 rushing touchdowns this past week. But Damian Harris, very similar to James Conner. He is 100% a touchdown or bust player, where if we're looking at the past 3 weeks and we remove the touchdowns for Damian Harris, let's just go through and let's go back to week 3 and let's go through Damian Harris and his production without scoring a touchdown in New England. Okay, so let's remove all touchdowns away and see what he would have scored, just looking at the floor that you are going to have for Damian Harris, given the fact that Brandon Bolden clearly has come in and he's clearly taken that James White receiving down role. So Damian Harris is still that first and second down grinder running back that is touchdown dependent. With no touchdowns, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, 11 points, 12 points. Like, you are so reliant, and against the Chargers, I'm going to be expecting that the Chargers will be favorites in this contest. They will lead the game. Not a great game flow for Damian Harris in particular. Now let's go down to our next tier running backs. We're going to go through this a little slower. This video is taking forever. Let's go to running back 20 with Elijah Mitchell going up against Chicago. Not a great matchup. With Elijah Mitchell, however, he is playing almost every single snap. JaMychal Hasty did come out and see the usage in the receiving game this past week. Of course, you're wanting to get more targets out of the backfield for Elijah Mitchell, which will be why he's down here at running back 20. Running back 21, Khalil Herbert. Now, I know with Herbert, he crushed against Tampa last week. I understand that. He has been dominant in Chicago over the past 3 weeks. He has looked like Chicago's best offensive player. But still, if you're looking at the prospect profile coming into the NFL, this was not a running back that I think you needed to get excited about. And also, given the fact that this is the worst offense in the NFL outside of the New York Jets, the worst outside of the Jets, I think we're still going to be avoiding everybody we can for Chicago, even though he's been fantastic. We're going to have him down at running back 21. And Kenneth Gainwell will be running back 22 against the Detroit Lions. Gainwell, he is going to be playing in a pseudo committee with Boston Scott. Very interested to see the roles that these two running backs are going to have. With Gainwell, he's definitely going to be a viable play given his usage in the receiving game, even when Miles Sanders was healthy. But I think we are going to have him as a low-end running back too. Now let's go to our last tier of running backs here, where we will have Chase Edmonds as running back 23 going up against the Green Bay Packers. With Chase Edmonds, this is a running back that is 100% the option you want over James Conner. And we are saying this knowing that this game is going to get played on Thursday. So there's a good chance that we are making ourselves look stupid. But with James Conner, very similar to Harris, he has been that touchdown or reliant player. Chase Edmonds is seeing damn near 70% of the snaps every single week for this Arizona Cardinals offense. One of the most productive offenses in the NFL. Give me Edmonds 100% over James Conner. Now our last running back 24, will be Antonio Gibson. Gibson can easily slide up these rankings. It really is going to be dependent on what we have with the usage in the receiving game for Antonio Gibson, if he can get anything away from J.D. McKissic. But more importantly, the shin injury. I mean, obviously, this is a player not playing at 100%. So if practice reports are saying that he is playing in full and he's going to be 100% good to go on Sunday, and he's going to be a lot healthier than he's been previously, then you can move Antonio Gibson up these rankings. Now, thank you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, go down there, drop that like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Go use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Go over there to Patreon, get in our group chat, get a Fantasy Flock Network hat, get our rest of season rankings, join the community. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much and have a great day.